Welcome to The Reveal. I'm Savannah Levins. Our team at 11 Alive investigates the issues happening in your community, from crime, safety, affordable housing, and more, all to give you greater perspective, question authority, and uncover solutions. For the next half hour, we are exploring solutions and stories that impact you, starting with a safety warning. An 11 Alive investigation found Apple AirTags are tracking people without their knowledge. After our first report, Apple announced it's making some changes. Investigator Kristen Crowley explains that's not the only impact.
I'm looking in the AC vents. There's nothing here.
Watch as Gwinnett police search this car.
I don't know what this thing looks like.
They're not looking for drugs or weapons. They're looking for this.
You guys are a godsend.
Back in December, The Reveal showed you cases across the metro where people were tracked with Apple AirTags without their knowledge.
Somebody has put it in my car.
The devices use Bluetooth technology, and their owners can see exactly where the AirTags are through their phone. Police had little knowledge of how they worked or what they were.
Because I really don't have a solution. Yeah, how does your phone pick it up?
But take a listen to this Gwinnett police body cam.
I guess these are attached to the phone.
I could actually send you an article about it that they just published in the news. Essentially how they work.
This is from January, 1 month after our initial investigation aired.
And he learned that all from a news report?
I guess so.
Corporal Ryan Winderweedle with Gwinnett PD says our initial investigation helped educate officers and the public.
Would you say your officers are more knowledgeable about these devices now than they were just a few months ago?
I believe so.
And it's a good thing, because unwanted tracking with AirTags is still happening. Atlanta PD added 2 more complaints since our report aired. So did Cobb County Police. And in Gwinnett, this report came in just a few weeks ago.
She believed that somebody she had prior dealings with was trying to track her.
When we spoke to Apple last year, it said AirTags were, quote, designed to discourage unwanted tracking. But after our investigation aired, this topic gained national attention.
Yeah, these things are called AirTags.
Using Apple AirTags
to try and track you.
And now Apple is going a step further, saying, quote, we have identified even more ways we can update AirTag safety warnings and help guard against further unwanted tracking. It also plans more updates later this year, like increasing the beep volume to make an unknown AirTag easier to find.
Like, this was stuck in my car.
And Winderweedle says people, including officers, learning from reports like these are key.
It's, not just one criminal using it. It's becoming popular in the area and in the region around here. So it's good information to put out there.
Scary stuff. So how can you protect yourself from unwanted tracking? Well, first, don't drive home if you get a notification that a device is traveling with you. Drive to a public place or police station, better yet. Second, if you have an iPhone, you can play a sound to alert you to where that AirTag is. Once you find it, twist off the top and remove the battery. We walk you through all of this, all the details in this story on 11alive.com. Well, safety in Atlanta is always top of mind, and so is finding affordable housing. For years, Atlanta mayors promised to make that a priority, but have they? Investigator Rebecca Lindstrom looks into why so many are struggling to find an affordable place to live.
If you have an affordable place to live right now, count your blessings.
Thank you for calling Strong Senior Residences.
Yes, I wanted to talk to someone about my name being on the waiting list.
Sure, come right in.
For a year now, Gloria Daniel has tried to find an apartment that fits her budget, about $900 a month. While the average rent for a 1-bedroom in Metro Atlanta is $1,400, some complexes get tax breaks in exchange for lower rent rates. For example, tenants at Stride can pay between $750 and $1,500. It's the same apartment, just a different price based on income. How long are you being told are these wait lists?
1 to 5 years.
Gloria is not sleeping on the streets, but she is homeless, forced to keep her stuff in storage while sleeping at a friend's house.
I'm paying almost $400, like $3.99. These two are both my storage.
The government defines affordable housing as rent or mortgage that costs less than 30% of your income. That means to rent that average one bedroom, you'd have to make $71,000 a year. Now, minimum wage, that's 190 hours a week, which is, of course, impossible because there aren't that many hours in a week.
We may have Fortune 500 relocations coming here. We may have all these new folks moving to the city, but it does us no good if the individuals that have lived here a long time still find themselves sleeping on the streets of Atlanta or in the woods or unhoused.
For years, mayors of Atlanta have declared affordable housing a top priority.
So there literally is no excuse for us not to build the housing we need.
We will continue to dedicate ourselves to creating an environment where our residents can afford to live.
The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta warned that the metro area needed 416,000 more places for people with lower incomes to live in 2019. Since then, the city of Atlanta has tracked its efforts, but so far, that's 7,000 units. Hardly enough for struggling families to notice.
This is Capitol View. This is an amazing project. This project has about 120 affordable housing units.
We met with Dr. Eloisa Clementich, the CEO of Invest Atlanta, to get a look at one affordable housing project protected by the city of Atlanta.
So no one's going to earn more than $40,000 who live in these units.
That's great, but it's only temporary. The tax breaks and low interest loans that make these deals possible are for a set period of time. For Capitol View, that's about 15 years. After that, the owner can charge anything it wants. And that means the work to find new affordable units never ends.
We live in the United States. It's a capitalist economy.
Even at the reduced rate, it is still too much for someone coming out of an encampment or homeless shelter to afford. Background checks, rental history, and credit scores are other barriers. Capitol View will take tenants on housing assistance programs like Section 8, but only if there's space.
I imagine there has to be quite a bit of demand then for something like this.
There is a lot of demand for these affordable housing units.
Capitol View says it's only had 5 units available for new tenants this year.
The best way to find out is call the property owners for these properties and find out if they have any availability, and if they don't, get on the waiting list.
If that's the best way, Gloria says we need to do better.
Frustrated, disappointed. It's, I'm sorry.
She can't count the hours spent on the phone, sending emails, and visiting apartments in person for nothing.
It's been really hard. It's taken a toll. Emotionally, mentally, all of it.
And the cost of housing on top of car payments, groceries, and other expenses can really add up fast, especially with this high inflation we've been seeing. But despite all of this, a woman in Clayton County was able to pay off $75,000 of debt in just 3 years. She told us how she did it and how you can too.
You know, I came from low-income background. My mom, she was a single parent. We would see her struggle a lot financially.
Even as a child, Renee Whaley knew what it was like to count every penny.
I can remember my mom literally on her hands and knees washing our clothes in the tub. Subconsciously, I was thinking, I don't want to do this. And she would tell us, do better than me.
Renee took that to heart, going to college, marrying her high school sweetheart, buying a home, having 2 sons. But the bills piled up.
I've always closely managed my dollars. But despite even doing that, I still ended up, in $75,000 worth of debt. And this is not including the mortgage. It just piled on. I wasn't paying attention.
So she set out to pay it off with a realistic budget.
I have a line item for everything, for grocery, fuel. We did have a line item for entertainment. We just stuck to that, and that was really what propelled us.
But her secret is tackling what she calls the debt snowball.
And I just kind of wrote them all out, lowest to highest. Say we were paying $100 a month to the credit card company. Once that was paid off, we would take that $100 and add it to the next payment.
And in 3 years, she'd paid off the $75,000.
That was a freeing moment.
Experts suggest getting a personal loan to apply to your debts with higher interest rates. That's called debt consolidation. You can also move your credit card debt to a balance transfer card, which offers 0% APR for anywhere from 6 months to over a year, allowing you to tackle your debt without losing money to interest. For students, Renee suggests aggressively seeking scholarships, and now she's sharing her secrets in a new book, hoping to help others.
People really think that they can't do this. But I didn't have an inheritance. I didn't win the lottery, and I was able to take this journey. And I think that others can do the same thing.
So here's another tip for you. Consumer.gov suggests that you call the company where you owe money, explain why you're having trouble paying your bills, and ask to set up a monthly payment plan. We'll be right back with more investigations on The Reveal. Welcome back to The Reveal. Georgia ranks last in the nation for mental health care access. And in the last year, the state passed legislation to help. The Mental Health Parity Act now requires insurers to provide equal coverage for behavioral health care. Investigator Rebecca Lindstrom spoke with a lawmaker who says his fight to get this legislation passed was personal.
I've come to learn most families that have watched their child struggle with a mental illness have two things in common.
I never imagined that I'd be standing here today.
There are tears.
Advocating for the passage of a mental health bill.
And then resilience.
And I know there's no other place I should be than right here for my son, Justin.
Have you ever spoken before a legislative committee before?
No, that was the first.
Tracy Jones and her husband Todd watched their spunky, sporty oldest son take on the world.
Started seeing changes going into his junior year.
Yeah.
Until the light in those vibrant eyes started to dim.
I mean, took 12 AP classes, he's an AP scholar, that's what's so sad in this whole thing. Is he that now? No.
He can't put two sentences together.
Yeah, unfortunately, the longer you're in psychosis, the more damage is done.
Justin spent 6 years in psychosis. Many of those years misdiagnosed, medicated with the wrong drugs.
One of the side effects of schizoaffect is bad hygiene. And I said, son, let's go take a shower. Oh, Dad, I can't. The razor blades are coming out of the shower head.
Personal experience with our failing mental health system has also given Todd the passion and a purpose to speak as a father and a lawmaker.
Our challenge today should not be, can we cure mental illness? Can we cure substance abuse? Rather, our challenge is, can we at least start?
As a state representative, Todd Jones has worked with Mary Margaret Oliver to present the Mental Health Parity Act. At its core is a requirement that health insurers cover mental and medical treatment equally.
If there's no limits on physical health doctor's visits, well, then there's no limits on mental health doctor visits.
The bill defines medical necessity, the standard by which insurers are held accountable. And for those companies administering Medicaid, 85 cents of every dollar must be spent on patient care.
We understand there's administrative costs. We're not blind to that, but we definitely don't want 83 or 82, which is where they're at right now.
That extra 3 cents for every dollar really make that much difference?
Oh yeah, that extra 3 cents based on last year's spend comes close to $500 million.
Todd hopes all of these changes, if passed, will give people like his son treatment earlier and longer. The Jones shared with The Reveal a list of all the places Justin has received care. 4 states, more than 20 different facilities. So some people would look at that and say, he got a lot of care. I mean, What is it that the two of you want?
Exactly. That's what you'd think.
Well, I still remember walking in, he's banging his head against the wall, blood's coming down, and we walk out, and they literally say to us, oh, looks like he's ready to step down soon.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm like, have you been in that room lately?
The Joneses say what their son got was a repeated cycle of short-term stabilization with no follow-through for a long-term solution.
It's almost like a community developer building 1/10 of every house. You may have poured the concrete on the house, but you never built the walls, you never put in the conduit, you never did anything to let someone live in that home. Well, it's no different.
For periods of time, Justin was homeless. Not truly understanding his illness, he would run away. And each time, Todd and Tracy went looking.
His hair had grown completely out, complete beard. Nails were, literally out to here. And he didn't want our help.
No. No.
He pretty much was like, if you could just buy me a sandwich, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And of course, we bought him the sandwich. Remember the burrito? It's the only thing we could find.
Todd and Tracy say the only reason their son is stable now is because he broke the law. It sounds absurd, especially when you think about it in relation to another illness like cancer.
Yeah, we can't give you the treatment you need for your stage 3 breast cancer. But if you know what, if you go and rob over there, we can get you into a facility.
Yet charged with a crime, that is essentially what happened. Justin spent 7 months in a state hospital, and since he couldn't check himself out of treatment, he was finally monitored long enough that he was able to get on the right medication. Todd and Tracy know the old Justin is gone, and the tears aren't over.
Because Justin, our firstborn, has a diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder, a diagnosis that was accompanied by the words, "I'm truly sorry," from the psychiatrist.
But there is hope. Hope for Justin, hope for Georgia.
Can we at least give them hope? Because I can assure you, going through this 31 times with my son, there were many times my wife and I didn't even think we had hope.
Hope our broken mental health system will be fixed before it damages more of the families that depend on it.
Another Georgia law to help families like Justin's details how the state will help police departments team up with mental health care workers as well when responding to 911 calls. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Reveal. Every Black History Month, we celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But are the streets named after him a true reflection of his unfulfilled dream? 11 Alive's Naima Abdullahi investigates the trend happening in Atlanta and across the country.
I think the greatest thing you can do is build something that lives on beyond your years.
Atlanta activist Scotty Smart loves to see so many streets named after Atlanta's favorite son.
So it allows you to take what's possible and really have a strategic ability to create change within your communities.
It started in Chicago in 1968. Now researchers mapped more than 1,000 MLK streets worldwide.
Because a lot of times you put a street name there, but what work is really being done but after the street name?
The work is far from done. A recent study finds most neighborhoods around MLK streets are in majority marginalized communities with poverty rates almost double the national average.
There's a lot of homelessness.
Financial expert Ash Cash calls it a visual contradiction that doesn't reflect Dr. King's legacy.
When you look at a lot of these roads or these neighborhoods that are named after him, it's the total opposite of what he would want.
On one end of the conversation, there's the need to address poverty. On the other end, gentrification, the price communities pay. For instance, the 7-mile-long MLK corridor in Atlanta received $33 million in revitalization efforts, giving the pathway bike lanes, parks, and better infrastructure.
So a lot of times the people who come from these communities, they get the money, then they leave our communities, which allows people to move in who see more value in our communities than we do.
Number one, when you think about the wealth gap, there is it continues to widen because of the lack of ownership in our community.
Research shows that Atlanta is the worst city for income inequality. The median household income for a Black family in Atlanta is about $28,000 compared to around $83,000 for a white family, according to the Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative. And in the West Side community where MLK Drive runs through, 43% of households live below the poverty line and only 8% of households own their own homes, according to the West Side Future Fund.
We're doing things, but what's the strategy?
Scotty Smart fears the same disenfranchisement that Dr. King protested against is visible throughout his city and street, which bear his name.
When his birthday comes up, when Black History Month comes up, everybody is loving his work.
Addressing the big picture of preserving what the name stands for, Smart says, is a marathon.
So we can't keep thinking it's going to be a microwave overnight solution.
You can find the rest of our Black History Month stories featuring local people making a difference and breaking barriers on our website, 11alive.com. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Reveal. You can find all of our latest investigations on our website, 11alive.com/investigates.